intro.
So we can introduce
Welcome. So you can introduce me. That's right.
It's
I said it.
Jerk.
So you can just talk whatever you have to say.
So are we on? Are we recording?
Yep, it is recording now.
All right. Hello and welcome. My name is Greg Newton, co-founder of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division with my lovely partner,
Donnie Jokum.
Johnny Jokum, very lovely.
And this is our third virtual tell, keeping it going in the middle of the pandemic. Hey!
Yay!
If you're here, you're alive, so that's great. We are very happy you're here, and hopefully you're also healthy, relatively sane, and doing okay.
Keeping yourself energized.
Yeah, not easy.
Nope.
But thank you for joining us and for being here. And we're going to keep doing virtual events until we can be back in the store, which right now it looks like isn't going to be until October at the earliest. But every day is new, so who knows?
Every day is different development. Different development.
I don't make any predictions anymore. But soon we are going to have an online store, which we're very excited about. We're going to make some noise. And
yay! That's exciting.
Even right now, you can still email us and order books if you want. So you can just send us the title that you're interested in to our email, contact@bgsqd.com. And as Drae mentioned, I know some people had trouble when they signed up donating. That's a little fun glitch from Facebook, but you can donate to us right now, and we'll make sure that that all the storytellers get paid. So on PayPal, you can use our email address, contact@bgsqd.com, and on Venmo, it's just @bgsqd. So thanks everybody for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to our fabulous host, Drae Campbell, who started this whole thing back in 2014, and we're going strong.
2014, oh my goodness.
I know.
Hi.
We're all still alive and doing
Yay.
it.
Woo, woo, woo,
Drae Campbell.
Woo, woo, woo. Thank you, fellas. I wish I could touch you. In my little square, the boys are here. Where are they? Point to where they are for you. And where am I? I'm right here. That's right. Oh, it's a silly night. Welcome to Tell. This is been doing it for 6 years. It's queer storytelling. Queer people telling true stories from their lives. Each month is a different theme. This month, tonight, aka tonight, is my body, which it might as well just say the universe, because it has such a very specific meaning for every single person. Everybody has a body. So everybody has a different experience and a story, and the story is very personal to them. I, anytime I have moments where I get down on my body, I try and remember to be grateful to my body for getting me to where I am this very moment. All of the pleasures and the pains, and the exercising and the running and the eating and the hairbrushing and the moisturizing and laughter, hospital visits, doctor, everything. My first tattoo. Yeah, it's a lot. And to have a queer body is a extra special thing, and I'm excited to have these folks here to talk about their body in the world and their story about their body. I don't know how many of you all are in New York. Kira says bodies are amazing. It's true. And we have also 2 body workers in the lineup tonight, which is very exciting. Or V, are you still a body worker?
I am still licensed to practice bodywork in New York State.
Very good. So you have that experience in your life.
I do.
By the way, I miss your hugs, V. You give the best hugs. What was I saying? Oh, I don't know if all of you are in New York, but I was listening to Brian Lehrer. Does anybody listen to Brian Lehrer? Yeah, and I heard him say the other day, if you are an artist, how are you consuming art? Call in, and if you're an artist, how are you exercising your art? So I immediately I called in, and it rang, and they put me on hold, and I got through, and I got to promote the show, which was very exciting. I was very nervous. I was like, "Hi, my name is Drae, and I'm doing a storytelling show." And my friend was texting me like, "Say the name of the show." But maybe that's why we have more people than normal. And he was very friendly to me. It's very exciting, and you can listen to it because it's on their live stream. I think it's from. I'll put that link on the invite page or in the chat. So yeah, it was very exciting. I got on air and I got to promote the show and myself a little tiny bit. I don't know what came of it, but maybe we got more people, so it's very exciting. And I felt like, I've been on stage many times, I've been in videos and films, but for some reason that felt like, I don't know, it felt like very big. It's like the Brian Lehrer show. So good times. All right, are we ready for the first storyteller? Yeah. Is the first storyteller ready? Where'd you go?
Yep.
Yay! I'm going to read a little bit about your bio. I'm going to read a little bit about you from your bio. Hold on just a moment. South Bronx bred, performance fed, Vie Paula is a caretaker, thing maker, singer-songwriter, and licensed massage therapist, striving to learn how to tell the whole truth and spend as much time as possible with their roommate's cat. With nightlife entertainment in the faraway past and a recent foray into all things extra, V wants to see you and be seen by you. They are currently working on staying connected and engaged, figuring out what fun is, and creating a life worth staying awake for. Everybody, please give it up for Vie Paula. Woo!
Ooh,
Take
my
it
name
away,
is
V.
V. My name is V, and so much has changed in my life since that bio was written, and so much has changed in my body since that bio was written. So I'm gonna take a second and rub my body with some calming oil because I'm so anxious. It's so, whether I'm around people or in front of people or in front of my phone in my living room, just being with the truth that I feel anxious sometimes and I feel in my body. So I have calming oil that I can breathe and connect with self. So thank you all for being here. I feel so, it's so special right now, so special and honored to be here, to be asked again to speak here. Thank you, Drae, and thank you, Carla and Brian. I feel just so hugged in the lineup and hugged by the universe in my body to be able to sit here and talk about my body. I have a body, so I am qualified to speak about my body. And I don't longer live with a roommate. I no longer play with my roommate's cat. I now have a partner. I have an apartment where I live with my partner. And that alone, when I think about how hard it's been for me to be okay with my body changing, I allow myself to make room for my body has changed, and so has my life, and so much of my life is worth living today in a way that it wasn't, when that bio was written. When I wrote that bio, I was really trying to come up with reasons to stay alive, how do I have fun? And I have a lot of fun today, and a lot of it I do with my body. So moving it around in ways that feel good, feeding it things that taste good. You know, I have done a lot of things to my body. I've cut at it. I have burned it. I have tried to kill it. I have starved it. I've pushed it to the limit, and my body has been pushed to the limit by other people. I, have tattoos, and I have plenty of scars from, every year up leading up to today. I'm going to slide here so I'm not looking at my face because, anxiety. Yeah, and my body's recently recovering from COVID. I'm gonna jump straight to the gut level true nature of it, and I don't think I've ever disliked my body as much as I do now because I've had the space for the last, forever, which has really just been like the last 4 months, to be with my body, right? And then I got sick, and my body was doing things I didn't want it to do, like hurt, and I live with a chronic pain condition, and I do the things every day that help me get through the day. And there's just a new way of getting through the day today, which means I am here and I'm sitting talking to you, and I'm like waiting for the time that I can just go lay down to my heating pad and my bed of nails and like thank God for another day where I'm blessed to have a body that I get to show up in, and not hate it for the fact that it's in pain a lot of the time, right? So falling ill with COVID meant that I was blessed to have a very different experience than people across the street in the hospital that I live across from who like died and, touched respirators. I was sick, I had a fever, it was over. In terms of the fever was over. And then it's been a progressive 3.5 months of being exhausted, in pain, short of breath, and confronted with the limitations of this body, right? Like I for so long, with the over-exercising, with like stuffing it with drugs to do what I wanted it to do at any point, the chemistry, getting the right chemistry of like, this is how I will control you. And it's always been an illusion. I can do very little. I breathe not of my own volition, thank God, because I haven't always had the volition. But that illusion that I've held on to, even with all the therapy, all the work, all the showing up for myself and doing the work, I'm going to take a breath because honestly, I'm really trying to spin this for what it truly is, which is really beautiful right now. I have been with the discomfort of that chaos that comes from like not wanting to believe that I feel a certain way and honoring that the way I feel is not the way I want to tell you I feel, because I want to be up here and tell you that I have transcended these like perceptions of self. I've done enough, enough of the enough to like say that it's all behind me. And it's not, and so much of when I'm anxious is like, I want to go make myself throw up right now. And I'm not going to. I need to voice this so that I don't have to hide from that truth today, and I don't have to hide from my body today. I don't need to hide my body from you today. So I am really feeling blessed sitting here and thinking how hard those first few days of the fever and feeling incapacitated, and then how much harder it was to be in the, but I'm better and I'm better. Yes, I'm so glad to be alive, and I'm better and I'm better and I'm better. And like, I'm still sick. And all that made me sick before COVID is still there. And I'm really just impressed by like the human capacity to deal and to persevere and to be with all of it. Because I have a partner who also fell ill. Plenty of my friends fell ill, and a lot of them died, right? And to be able to just sit here talking to you about recovering from COVID and how hard it's been to be somebody who's queer on hormones, who's recovering from an eating disorder, who's in recovery from substance use, who deals with daily pain, but be recovering from COVID and alive in this moment. I forgot the train of thought for that sentence, but it's really, it's overwhelming and such an honor, right? To really hold all of that for myself and to be held in all of that by you. I've just told you, I've cued you in on a little bit of what has been in my life right now, right? So I wrote all these notes down for stories to tell, and I learned that the best story to tell is the one that I have right now. You're tuning you into this little journal entry of mine, and just knowing that I don't need to get this. I don't need to know any about how to package this neatly and put a bow on it for you. I will share with you where I'm at right now, which is I am alive. I'm alive, and I have a lot of appreciation for that in a way that I didn't in March. I had my first symptoms at the end of March, and April 1st when I woke up and I was like, whoa, I thought I was gonna die last night. It really changed. And I've had plenty of near-death experiences, right? So much of living on the edge, so much of like the first 27 years of my life was about like, how far can I go to leave this plane? And, you know, there's nothing like the near-death experience of knowing that I've been in this place before and it wasn't self-imposed, right? Like there's always that little bit of thrill of like, well, I made myself there. I came back from that overdose, or I, you know, made it off that cliff. And there was seriously a moment there where I was laying in bed. I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I feel like I should tell my partner the passcodes to my phone and my bank account and like my Facebook and Instagram in case I don't make it through the morning. And it wasn't for lack of breath. It was for complete lack of a connection to my body. And for so long that I spent trying to disconnect from my body, I don't think I understood that until basically the end of March, you know, however many days are in March, what is it, 30 days in March or 31? Where I just could not, the complete disconnect from self, you know, and again, to think that I was trying to attain that for so long and to have that being like, oh no, I want to have a body. I really, really want to have a body. I'm really glad that I get to talk about the struggles with my body instead of just not having one at all, you know, and having my body needing to be taken care of or disposed of, really, right? So this is a whirl around. I think what I really want to convey here is that it is really hard right now. It is really hard. I am so blessed to be able to touch right now, to have a partner that I'm in space with. And I've recently been able to connect with friends again and touch, you know, and how necessary that's been. And it's very much been like the talks I had when I was in massage school about like, touch is medicine. We need touch. Babies die. They don't thrive if they're not touched. And like, as I've connected with some of my friends who have not been touched for 90, 120 days, like, I am just so floored by that reality of how important it is for me to share touch, how life-saving more than ever it is. As I am sick, as I'm speaking of people who are recovering as well, as I'm speaking of people who've lost people who just no longer are capable of touching people that they love. Yeah, so what I want to say is I'm grateful to have a body. I'm grateful that I have this voice right now that I can fumble on the screen and talk to you, that I don't have it nicely bundled to share with you, but that I have enough of a message that's like, you've heard it, whatever it is you needed to hear. I hope that you've heard it. When I was a teenager and I was in and out of psych hospitals and I was just really on a death mission, and then when I was in my early 20s and I was finding life again, and I'm like, these are reasons to live. I don't need drugs, I need people. And when I was in my mid-20s, connecting with people, and I'm like, well, this is purpose, you know. And then when I rolled those ways of like, fuck purpose, fuck life, fuck, you know, all of that, I never, you know, perceived and I didn't have enough perspective to know that this could be a place too, where all of that, also 10 times more than that, that there is so much more room for all of it than I ever thought there was. There's so much more room in my body for more than I ever thought there was, that right now I can name like 7 different sensations. Like my feet are so cold because I have this fan on because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to breathe. If I get anxious and excited, I won't be able to speak, right? And then my hands are so hot right now because I put this warming, calming oil there to be able to like be here and connect with you. And, you know, and I can go on and on with those sensations, but I know that I like to take care of my body today. I know that I have learned how to feed my body in ways that keep me feeling alive. I know that I can move. Sometimes it means rolling around on the floor. Sometimes it means lifting weights. But if nothing else, I get to transport this body from here to there. And I'm just so blessed to have that and really believe in that blessing, because I genuinely believe that it didn't have to be this way. So fuck COVID. Thank you. I love you. Thank you all for being here. I am anxious. Bye.
I love you, V. Thank you. Give it up for V. Vie
Yes.
Paula.
Woo!
Yes. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, you can unmute for a second and give them a woo woo.
I love you, V.
Woo, 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 woo. Feel like
Yay!
V really tapped into a lot of what a lot of us are feeling. At least that's, you know, the anxiety and all of those things. Thank you, V. Also, so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. Is our next storyteller ready?
Unmute, yes.
You are, yay.
Um,
I'm gonna read a little bit from your bio. I'm very excited to have you here. I put a call out on Twitter because Tell has a Twitter account, which is me tweeting from Tell. It's called Tell Queers if you're on Twitter. And I put a call out for the show, this show, and Brian is the only person that was interested in telling a story in my little Twitter open call. And I'm very excited that you did respond and are here. So Brian Belovitch, author, activist, and longtime resident of NYC, also has a storied career as a writer and gender outlier. He's appeared on New York stages for more than 3 decades. Recently, he was featured on The Moth Storytelling Hour on NPR, relating a story from his recently published memoir, Transfigured: My Journey from Boy to Girl to Woman to Man. In 2019, Brian was a recipient of the Acker Award for writing that is given annually to East Village, New York avant-garde artists. As a playwright, his off-Broadway play Boys Don't Wear Lipstick was honored with a 2000 GLAAD nomination. This June, Brian was named one of the 50 most influential LGBTQ authors of all time by Barnes & Noble, and invited to participate in the 50th anniversary of Stonewall Gay Pride Parade in New York City. In November 2019, Brian was the subject of a documentary film debuting its world premiere at Doc NYC titled I'm Gonna Make You Love Me, directed by Karen Bernstein. As a long-term survivor of HIV, Brian lives proudly as a beloved gay man, advocating on behalf of the LGBTQ community in all its wondrous expressions. Everybody, please give it up for Brian Belovitch. Yay, thank you.
Oh, wow.
Welcome.
Okay, am I unmuted? Yes.
You're unmuted.
I am
Sir.
unmuted. Okay. Thank you, Drae. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm so honored to be able to participate. And I guess, you know, one of my I guess better personality traits is to, you know, act, like take action. You know, if I've learned anything in 60-something years, you know, strike when the iron's hot. So I'm glad that I responded to your Twitter request. And I love storytelling. I've been telling stories for many years. And what really intrigued me about this storytelling event was this idea of talking about my body. And I had a couple little things that I wanted to, before I start, I just wanted to share with everybody this little ditty that was one of my favorite things about my body. I hope it's working. Yes, your body, my body, everybody work your body. Okay, we're gonna stop that. Did that work? Yay! I'm getting good with Zoom. Anyway, your body, my body, everybody work your body. And you know, what that calls up to me is it's a very evocative memory of dancing and not having a care in the world in the early 70s in New York City and Providence, Rhode Island, where I grew up, and shaking my body and just not caring about, a lot of the things that would soon to be happening in the world. So it was, there's such a sense of joy in remembering those times. I was going to tell the story, the moth story, but that's available online if you want to go ahead and look that up. It's in their archive. And so that story is particular to my coming out. And as Drae mentioned earlier, I've written a book, I wrote a play, I've used myself as my performance for many, many years. I'm somewhat of a performance artist by accident, and I didn't plan it that way, but it just sort of happened that way. And so a lot of my work does involve my personal life experiences. I have spent, when I was a little kid, when I was 5 years old, it was 1961. And I knew when I was a little kid that I was different. And I knew that, I was different in a way that at the time it felt like a really good thing to me. It was only until, and I'm gonna pop this up on the screen right now. So this is me at 5. There we go. So that's me at 5. And, you can see anyone looking at this picture today would think, we have a vocabulary for what would this would be described as, possibly a child of gender non-conforming identity, or maybe transgender. We wouldn't know, but we didn't have that vocabulary then. But and I'm so grateful that we have all of the wonderful ways to claim our bodies today, and the wonderful various expressions of how we can be in our bodies. Gender, for me, for many people, gender is a destination, but for me personally, it's always been a journey, and it always has been this odyssey that I have been sort of on my whole life. And when I got older, I was thinking, I was taking a shower, getting ready to do this, and I was thinking in the shower, like, when was the first time I heard the word faggot or queer? And when I was younger, queer was a derogatory term. We've taken it back to empower ourselves with that term. But back then, queer was a derogatory term. And I believe my father, the first time I heard that mentioned to me was my father telling me, stop walking that way, stop shaking your ass. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you queer? And what does a 5-year-old or 7-year-old or 8-year-old kid know what that means, other than it sounds, the tone was negative, the tone was a little pointed, and it didn't sound empowering. And that kind of stuff kind of sinks into your DNA, and it kind of like absorbs into your body. And so that was kind of one of the first times that I understood that my difference elicited reactions from adults that were mostly negative. And so early on, I was able to, it wasn't a conscious thing, but it's, like I said, it's something that just sort of like stays with you. And the older I got, the worse it became. And so by the time I reached this age, I'm going to share this now. This is me at 13 years old in August of 1969. You can see there's something definitely going on there about my body and my presentation and my physical stance and I was starting to gain weight, and I started to get a little chubby and a little soft. And this was just a few months after the Stonewall Rebellion. So here I am, a 13-year-old gay kid in the middle of Massachusetts somewhere. I think that was Massachusetts at the time. And, you know, all of this is going on and I haven't a clue. But I'm still left with these feelings and these experiences of my body and how I'm going to, you know, fit in the world. So the other part of this, which I hope you find interesting, is that the messages that I received, mostly from my earliest memories, were of misgendering. So I was always misgendered. I was very pretty. I had very long eyelashes. I had very thick, curly, beautiful hair. I was soft and effeminate in spirit. And I was always misgendered. So I was always believing that somehow maybe there was something to this idea that I might be another gender. So when I was old enough to act out on it, if you want to read my book, that's great. I think they might even still have it at the bookstore there, but you can get it on Amazon. I go into great detail in my book. You know, I prefer you get the book at the Gay Center, but you know, some people don't like Amazon, but it's available. You can even get it at the library. It's in, you know, quite a few libraries. But I go into great detail in my memoir about the reasoning and the experiences that I had that made me believe that this was something I had to do because I had no sense of self and I had no strong core of confidence about who I was. So if you thought that it was a good idea for me to go ahead and change my body and change my name and have different surgical procedures, and you know, the more, you know, I was 16 when I started to take hormones. I went to the doctor. The doctor never asked me how old I was. I got Premarin, which was the purple pills that we used to take in the 70s. Like this was like 1972, maybe. And I took them and I got small breast and I started passing and I was young and I had passing privilege. And I gained confidence from this new identity. But what I didn't realize at the time was that it was the reasoning, if I was to be really honest with myself, the reasoning why I was doing it was not because I felt different or that I felt like I was supposed to be another gender. It was because I believed what other people were telling me to be true about myself. And that has a lot to do with my zero self-esteem and my zero sense of who I was. I was a very people-pleasing sort of person growing up. So fast forward to my body at its apex, and we'll have a little bit of, you know, I really love doing this like show and tell here. It's so much fun. So let's see, go back, share, there we go. So then I, at the apex of my transitioning, this is what I had, my body resembled. Now, obviously, I still have my penis. It's tucked away. I hope that doesn't upset anyone or trigger anyone. I apologize. But that was me at the height of my transition to a female identity. And then shortly thereafter, we're talking about now 1980, 80s, early 80s, I started to, you know, there's so many different levels about my journey with my body that I started to become addicted to drugs and alcohol. the underlying feelings that I had of low self-esteem, of, you know, feeling like the misogyny that I experienced from men, from gay men, from straight men, from straight women. I mean, the misogyny that I was experiencing as this attractive sort of trans woman in the 80s was devastating to me. And it was very difficult to live that life at the time when I was doing that in the mid 80s. I'd also gained some notoriety, and I was sort of like this sort of celebrated, you know, like nightclub person. I was sort of like an Amanda Lepore of the day, and running around the clubs and getting more attention and more validation of how I looked externally. And this is an important point of my story. How I looked was more important than how I felt. And someone earlier, Vi talked earlier about how they felt anxious and how they felt, you know, how they felt right now in this moment. And that wasn't even in my radar. I had no, I wasn't able to feel any of those things because I was masking a lot of how I really felt with drugs and alcohol. So fast forward to the third part of my transition, and in 1987, I underwent therapy. I stopped using drugs and alcohol. I'd been sober like a year, and you know, guess what? I had my feelings, and my feelings came back, and my feelings about all the shame and all of the rejection and all of the trauma involved as a trans person living in a world that was constantly rejecting me came flooding back. And I was finally able to understand my body in a way that I had never been able to do before. And I never really thought that I never knew what feeling like a woman was, because I'm not a woman, and I never thought, I don't know what a woman feels like. I mean, I know what a person feels like, but I guess a person would feel the same way, but I never felt like I was in the wrong body, or, you know. So long story short, I retransitioned at the age of maybe 31. I had to undergo quite a bit of surgical modifications. I had my breast implants removed. I had silicone injections, which had to be taken out. So I've been through a lot of changes with my body. And then lastly, before I close, I just want to say that the other part of this body odyssey that I've been on is that I was diagnosed with HIV in 1986. And as a trans woman in 1986, being HIV positive was not a good thing. And I mean, it's never a good thing to be HIV positive, but there was so much discrimination and so much unknown about the virus, and you know we were on the bottom of the medical chain. I'll just leave it at that. There were not very many. You know, in my book, I wrote about exactly when I received my HIV diagnosis, and the doctor came in and he sat down and he said to me, you know, you're positive. You know, what did you expect? You're a sex worker. You know, you're a prostitute, so you should be HIV positive. So that should give you an idea of like how. So moving forward from that, I did my retransition, and I use the word retransition because I don't like the word detransition. I think gender reimagining and transitioning is always much more comfortable for me than this idea of like going back to something that didn't work for me in the first place. So I did that, and then now I'm older. I'm a senior. I'm an elder. I'm a gay elder, and I have an older body now. You know, so I'm losing muscle mass, and I'm getting those little flappy things that you swing on, and I'm like gaining a little belly fat. And then, you know, when I started taking the HIV medications, I started getting, you know, lipidostrophe and losing fat in my legs and my, you know, and you know, but all of this stuff, you know, it's, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to have this unusual story to share with my friends and share with people so that they can, you know, make informed decisions on their own, and add this kind of unusual sort of twist to the story of gender identity. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be aging in my body. I'm grateful to be undetectable. You know, there was a time when, you know, I might not have even been here, you know. So when I retransitioned back, and then I retransitioned back, I had to go to the gym and I had to work out and I had to become like, you know, I had to get muscles, and, you know, and that was a whole other body odyssey that I was, you know, completely unprepared for. But lastly, my body is only today a vessel that holds so much more than the body can ever represent. It holds a spirit, and it holds a spirit that is loving, caring, friendly, kind, generous. And that's what's most important to me today, is my spirit. And my body is changing all the time. Our bodies change as we grow older, and yours will too. If you're still here in another 30 years, you'll really understand exactly what it is I'm trying to say here. But I'm grateful to have the opportunity to talk a little bit. On Monday, I'm just going to quick plug. On Monday night, we've been invited to participate as part of the Wicked Queer Film Festival in Boston on the 27th. I'll put it in the note, and if anyone has questions, it's Wicked Queer Film Festival, and our film is going to show on Monday night also, and I think the tickets are like $10. And it's going to be streaming online, which I'm really thrilled about. So thank you all, and stay safe and be healthy.
Thank you. Woo! Woo! That was an extraordinary story, and I feel honored that you told it here. Thank you so much. Where did you go? I lost you. Oh, there you are. I just feel like I'm grateful to you for not only being brave enough to have that journey, but coming and sharing it with us and reminding us. I felt validated by the things that you experienced, and it was like a balm to my heart, a lot of the things that you said, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And to have, you know, a queer elder is so important, because it reminds us, like, you know, a lot of bullshit out there tries to tell us this is some new little thing that's happening, and it's like, no, it's always been happening, and this is why we tell our stories, to embolden ourselves and to, you know, you all know the deal. You know what I'm trying to say, I hope. I'm speechless. Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
was
Drae.
wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt really validated by that. I felt like I identified a lot with it, even though I was born with a different body. But the fluidity and the demands of, like, being a woman, and the demands of masculinity, and, like, jumping back and forth in that binary, and it's having a body, hun. Having a body. All right. Are we ready for our next storyteller? Yay. Is our next storyteller ready? You look ready. Yeah.
As ready as I'm gonna be, right?
Yeah, this is our closer for the night. And I just want to say, I have been trying to get Carla,
Yeah.
right? I have been
Yep, you have,
contacting you.
and I appreciate.
No, I appreciate you like constantly dealing with me messaging you involved. But I'm very excited that you're here. I'm going to read a little bit about you so everybody knows. Carla Gaskins-Nathan is the Brooklyn, it says is in Brooklyn and now resides in Harlem. Are you from Brooklyn?
From Brooklyn. Yeah.
From Brooklyn and now resides in Harlem. Carla is the founder and CEO of Zela LLC, which includes their private massage practice, Rooted Bodywork. Carla is a consultant, educator, and healing artist that believes true holistic wellness must be rooted in healing, social, and racial justice. Carla performed and curated while living in Minneapolis in the 90s and the 2000s. Their performance work includes spoken word, drag, DJ, VJ, and performance art. Carla has performed at Twin Cities Black Pride, the main stage of Twin Cities Pride, Intermedia Arts, Patrick's Cabaret, and other LGBTQIA events. Carla's work is open to all that see the importance of holistic wellness with a focus on loving Blackness and working with LGBTQIA communities of color. Give it up, everybody, for Carla.
Thank y'all. It's great to be here, and thank you so much, Drae, for following up with me more than once to get me to perform, because full disclosure, I'm nervous. I have not performed in probably almost a decade, at least
be
officially.
amazing.
So I wrote something for y'all. Originally, I was going to do a story about the first time getting worked on in class. So I'm a body worker. So I'm going to share a tiny bit about that because I think it's important because it leads into the story I'm going to read for you. So in massage school, some of the things that I also teach now at a massage schools, and so I warn students about this, that folks forget about, is while you're like, yo, I'm good with my hands, you also have to be vulnerable and receive work. And one of the big pieces of learning is receiving work not only from your classmates, but also volunteering and receiving from the teacher. So it's not uncommon for a teacher to go, hey, I need a body today. And one of my beginning classes at the beginning of the program, I was like, bet son, I'm game. I'll be the body. But what didn't click for me was that meant that my body and the parts that that instructor was going to be demonstrating on that day would then be viewed, and not just viewed like, oh, I see your back or I see the side handles, the love handles, like viewed, they're staring at it because they are learning techniques for an hour. It was a whole nother level of vulnerability that is even hard to explain, but as I can see with the giggle, some of y'all are like, oh snap, that would be something different, right? So, you know, I go in the changing room, I go to get changed, and in the room, I'm like, oh shit, what did I just volunteer for? So I get instructed to undress to my level of comfort, but was really told I need to undress and only leave on my underwear. Come out in a towel in a fluorescent classroom with my arms out. I never show my full arms or rarely do. You know, legs, everything, get on this table and have a classroom full of strangers watch me receive work. Looking at my arms, looking at my back, looking at my hips, and it was a lot. So getting ready to start that story made this story come out because I realized as I started that story for you all, there was a deeper story to tell. So that's what I got for you for this evening. Also, I'm an obnoxious Aries, yes, and yes, I'm wearing a hat inside my house. My COVID cut did not go as planned. So it's like, I'll show you the good half. The good half looks amazing. The other side, they're not friends. So that's why we're rocking a hat inside the house. So in this time and current political environment, it was hard for me to choose a story to tell. So I've decided to weave stories together about this Black body. The ongoing policing of this Black body. The world is filled with unsolicited advice givers, those that give their 2 cents when you haven't even asked for change. It doesn't matter to them that I have on headphones which clearly state, yo son, don't talk to me. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, if I'm alone or with people, they feel verbally free to verbally vomit their ignorance and hatred whenever, wherever, and however they choose. For some, I think it's racism, melanin envy, fat phobia, transphobia, queer phobia, or a combination platter of jackassery. But I think of my mother, and I find myself grateful for the talk, really the series of talks that took place during my childhood. I hadn't even started kindergarten when we had our first talk about this Black body. She sat me down to tell me about its worth and my ownership of it. Over the years, she shared very little, though, about her body. I know in my spirit that my mother did these talks from a place of deep knowing of what people do or will try to do to Black bodies, especially Black female identified or perceived bodies. She taught me that no one gets to touch this Black body, that it is mine and mine alone. She taught me to say no. She also stressed covering it, that not certain areas shouldn't be seen and how I was expected to sit with crossed legs. While every message wasn't perfect, I understood as best I could. I was instructed to not to be alone with men or boys. When possible, I was always expected to stay in sight. I could tell that she was fearful for this Black body when it was out of her sight. As I got old enough to play outside on my own, I was always required to be in view of our Brooklyn apartment. Luckily, it was a corner apartment, allowing me just a little bit more freedom. Seeing was important to her. Not being able to be seen was punishable. No closed doors with friends over, ever. If at any time she looked out that window and couldn't see me, trouble. I had to be in the house by the time the street lights came on, or trouble. Another talk was about this Black body and in all its beauty and strength, that it wouldn't be valued by many. You, Carla, are Black. Not everyone is going to see you like we do. You have to be careful. White people won't see you like we do. My mother's from the South. And one of the few stories that she shared with me about her body was about her and her sister being chased as young girls in the country not far from where they lived by a white man. She shared that they feared for their lives. They ran fast and hard as they could. But at one point, they came to a barbed wire fence with no other choice for safety but to go over it. She showed me the scar and pressed just how serious I was to take her warnings, and I did. I internalized that fear within my bones, along with the intergenerational trauma of being a Black girl. By 5th grade, I had curves and was told disgusting things like, "You developing well." Eventually, I'd grow into a baby gay teen, not sure of my identity, knowing deep inside that the daddy's little girl that I was raised to be wasn't me. Maybe I was somewhere in this gray space between the son they told me they were trying to have and the girl that they thought they had raised. We fought about this Black body countless times, about what it could wear, how long it had to rock its hair, and so on. By high school, I had the freedom to make my look a little more gender neutral, except for the forced dress-ups on picture day and special occasions. Baggy jeans, sneakers, sweaters, button-down t-shirts, and shorts. I'd sneak into my parents' room and dab a little bit of my dad's cologne or use his Old Spice. I'd borrow clothes from my nephew, 2 years my junior, who always had the freshest boys' clothes that came out. In young adulthood, I tried my best to hide this Black body. It now had curves, full breasts, hips, and thick thighs. It was catcalled, groped, grabbed, stared at, and more. There wasn't the language that there's now, so I decided to hide it. Baggy guy clothes, looking like I jacked my older brother's outfit that I didn't have. Oversized everything, trying to hide these girl parts. When I came out as lesbian, people just told me I was butch. I felt like I only had 2 choices, butch or femme. But neither of them felt like the right place. No matter, Butch was what people saw me as, and they treated me accordingly. My frustrations grew with my breasts and my curves. Many of my other gay friends could just wear clothes marketed to guys and have things just lay right. One friend could even wear boys' clothes and could pass sometimes. I found myself jealous. Shirts that were wide enough to hide these hips were way too baggy with sleeves too long. I had to shop at the big girl store, aka Lane Bryant, trying to find the least girly thing. Damn, why is everything bedazzled, flared, lacy, or in some weird bright color? Even buying sneakers got harder. When the 90s fell in love with pastel and bright colored everything, I just wanted primary colors. Damn this soft face, I thought to myself. Why wasn't I tall and slim like my dad? Why wasn't my body the one of the sun that they wanted? I envied my male cousin who looked like my dad and my uncle, tall, slim, with hazel eyes. Instead, I was short, thick, with a super girly figure that was getting harder and harder to hide. Slowly, I replaced all the women's underwear with men's underwear. I'd get strange looks in the men's underwear section, trying to decide between boxers and briefs, and oh, boxer briefs. Perfect. I had to hide the men's undershirts and underwear from my mom. I even bought my own Old Spice, hid that too. Once I was on my own, things got a little easier. Though I remembered when I was living in a youth shelter, I got kicked out after coming out, but that's a totally different story for a totally different day. But anyways, one of the male staff pulled my laundry out of the dryer for me, and I felt violated. He had touched my underwear. He saw my boy underwear that no one knew about. It was out now, my secret. Well, at least that's how it felt. Otherwise, no one else knew of the internal struggle that I kept to myself. The short haircut was chopped up to the gay, but the other things that I couldn't name were my secret. I tried, but I never could really fully lean into this butch thing. I like my toenails painted. I'm not handy, nor very sporty, and I just couldn't get with these binary gender roles. I'm not sure when my first butch friend came out as trans. I know I was living in Minneapolis at the time. It was known for having the first queer youth center in the country, District 202. I went a few times in high school, but after I graduated and was an AmeriCorps member, a few of my other fellow Corps members were placed there. I began spending more and more time there to visit them, making up extra AmeriCorps hours, and that's where I met other young folks that just did their thing, and more didn't find themselves packed neatly into these boxes. Over time, I identified more with being queer. Throughout my 20s, I struggled with my gender identity, especially when it came to dating. I often found myself in these awkward ass conversations getting to know someone. Like 99% of the time, they'd assumed I'm butch, and that came with a whole slew of assumptions about what my role should be and what I should do. Often, when I was misgendered, I wouldn't even correct people. Depending on how sir was said, I liked it. The more oftentimes than not, though, I'd get ma'am, sir, whatever you are, which of course would piss me off. I began to notice how uncomfortable people with me would get when I got misgendered with a sir. Some people would correct them right away, saying she's a girl, she's a lady. They'd be hot too when they said it. I remember a time when I was driving my parents' car as an adult with my father in the passenger seat. It was totally a driving while black pullover situation in New Jersey. Do you know why I pulled you over, sir? My dad quickly snapped, forgetting in that moment all the things he and my mother taught me about how to survive engaging with the cops. See, one of the things that often isn't talked about in this predominantly white cultured LGBTQI community is the difference in passing as male when you're black. I didn't always pass, because of those damn hips and the breasts. But whenever I was driving, I passed. The passing that I longed for actually became a threat to this black body, this black life. I was very aware of it. Countless times I've been pulled over, accused of stealing my own car. As soon as I'd see those lights in the rear view, damn, I knew my plates had been ran. As the officer would walk up to the glass, tap, tap, I heard, "Sir, whose car is this?" I'd reply, "It's mine." And they'd say, "No, it's not." Followed by, "Give me your license and your registration." They'd look at it hard, look at me, shine a flashlight in my face, look at my ID again, stare at me some more, then angrily say, "Okay, ma'am," and make some bullshit up reason why they pulled me over in the first place. For my white queer friends that tried to pass or passed as male, they gained white privilege. On the other hand, when I passed, I was met with more fear and different threats to this Black body. It was years until being genderqueer was a space that I could really breathe into. For years, I struggled to decide on whether to undergo a series of medical procedures, start hormone therapy. The more I read, the more I talked to folks, it just became overwhelming. Then I had people left and right telling me that I was trans, but holding this very narrow definition that exists now. The only understanding of being non-feminine lesbian was really limited binary to being butch, a stud, or transitioning. Transitioning in the spaces that I was in focused on medical transitioning only, really pushing towards this really hyper masculine way of being. I began to understand transitioning wasn't for me. I supported friend after friend who started hormones, had top surgeries, hysterectomies, and my spirit knew that that wasn't quite my path. So I found myself in this gray area, hiding, binding, taping, compressing, and more. As I shared from the beginning, I was taught to be very aware of my Blackness. A Brooklyn kid of a Southern mom and an NYC bred dad with Caribbean heritage, there was never a question of loving Blackness. A huge piece, though, that was conflicting for this identity was that of being a Black woman. Being a Black woman to me is a spiritual and political identity. Yet this gender identity felt like something else. It may not make sense to others. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone outside of this Black body, truth be told. The internal struggle of how could I be a Black woman, but not really feel like a woman, whatever that means. I have these parts, these features, and a shape that society deems as female. Sometimes a lady, but always a boy with an eye. I just had to let it simmer for a while. Not easy, often painful and tear-filled. Denied proper health care, purses grabbed, streets crossed, doors pulled shut, car doors locked, and pullovers. Written up for not dressing professionally, even though I was dressed the same as the other male-identified staff. Eroticized and fetishized because being with me didn't really make them gay. By my late 20s, my gray hue found a name that felt right, genderqueer. I could breathe into this place where this body felt like it could be seen. But still, I wasn't sure what to do with this body. Internalized isms had created this vicious flavor that burnt the tongue. It still plagued me at times. Never quite feeling trans enough, but this genderqueer space gave me new space, more room. The problem was the more I grew to love myself, the more the world told me I was not lovable. With more visibility came more feelings and more threats. Those same worries that my mother had, those worries about the harm that happens to Black bodies, even stronger now as I embrace my truth. Even within my own community and family, this Black body was being policed, judged, and at times threatened. This and more created the perfect opportunity for this body to suffer one of its greatest threats, the medical industrial complex. This Black body got sick, so sick that I couldn't walk. At 30, I found myself having to stop working to care for it full time. Later to find out a rare type of migraines was beneath all of these life-altering symptoms. This time, this Black genderqueer body was in the hospital. unable to care for itself, needing strangers to help me get dressed, strangers having to touch and help me put on this men's underwear. I had to build back up my strength to walk. I had to learn how to properly fall for safety when my Black body couldn't handle being upright. I felt my body betrayed me, and I felt like I had betrayed it. I found myself having to learn to really love it again on a whole new level. It gave me permission to be like, fuck it. Now, in its 40s, this black genderqueer body, Black woman, Black boy with an I, with she, they pronouns, is out of this gray space. And this genderqueer space between the son that they wanted and the daddy's little girl that they raised, loving these curves, these breasts, these love handles, and these sexy ass thunder thighs. Sometimes I do still have to catch myself in the mirror before letting something slip that's not loving. I touch that part and say, I love you, Carla, and I mean it. Thank you.
Woo! Yes!
Oh.
Yes!
So,
Oh,
yo, I'm glad I ripped that.
Yes.
The 10-year Band-Aid has been ripped off of performing.
wow, that was
Amazing.
beautiful
Amazing.
and amazing.
We love you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm grateful.
Hey,
you're
Carla.
here. Yay! Give it up. Well, that
Thank y'all
that
so
was
much.
everybody. Everybody, give it up for Vie Paula.
Woo! Woohoo!
Yeah, Brian Belovitch. Ow!
Yeah. Woo!
Carla Gaskins-Nathan. Woo! Yay! My body, my body, my body. Everybody, remember to love your body. Take a moment. A couple of things. You can donate if you were not able to. Is everybody? Can you all hear me? Yeah. You put it in the link, right, Brian? So you can donate to the Venmo, BGSQD. The Venmo. You can donate to BGSQD on Venmo, and it's at BGSQD, correct?
Yes.
And then they have a PayPal, and the PayPal is
contact@bgsqd.com.
contact@bgsqd.com. And if you do donate, it will go to the artist. Make sure you write a little note that it's for Tell. We asked for $10 suggested. If you can't do anything, that's fine. We're happy to have you here. And if you can do a little something, that's great too. Everything helps, and it goes right to the artists. And we all know this is a fun time for money. And so the next show will be on August 15th, correct?
Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
Saturday, August 15th.
And I'm in the midst of curating that. I haven't quite started. It's always in here. And you can follow Tell on Twitter, Tell Queers. That's with a Z on the end. On Instagram, it's also Tell Queers with a Z on the end. And then, or you can follow me, Drae Biz, DRAEBIZ. And then I'd like all of the storytellers, if you would so desire, to put your social media handles in the chat, so people can follow you. And storytellers, does anybody have any gigs that you want to plug? I know, Brian, you have one. When is that?
Monday, July 27th at 7 o'clock. We are going to be part of the Wicked Queer Film Festival. Wicked Queer Film Festival in Boston. It's usually a live event, but of course, with coronavirus, we're all stuck. We're all becoming experts at video conferencing.
That's right. And then, Carla, do you have anything you want to promote or sell or tell people to visit? Or
I mean, my website is rootedbodywork.com, and then I put my social media here in the chat. You know, this is the Band-Aid that I ripped off for performing. So I don't have any performances lined up. It's the first time in a decade. So yeah.
It's okay. If you have wares to sell, you can also post that. That was amazing,
All right.
by the way.
Oh, thank
fact
you
that
so
you
much.
haven't
Thank
done
you
that
so
in a
much for
while.
having me.
Very powerful and wonderful. And then V, do you have anything popping?
I have nothing coming up and I have nothing to sell yet, but I am in line to do a few things in the next 3 to 4 months. So add me on Instagram and stay tuned. I will let you know eventually if I do anything.
Love it. Keep an eye on them. And I don't have anything, I don't think. Maybe in October, I have a web series coming out. But you can just keep watching Tell or my social medias. And thank you, everybody. This was a wonderful show, as always. And I'm so glad that we were all here together. Queer folks. Perpetuate these stories. Keeps us alive.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drae. Thank you.
Love you all so
Drae.
much. Thank you. Thank you, boys. And give it up to BGSQD boys.
Yay.
They're going to be selling their books online soon, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
before
It's
we
high
have,
time.
before we have that online store, you can always email us. contact@bgsqd.com.
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Take care of yourselves.
Love, love, love.
Love you.
Thank you so much. Amazing.
Thanks. Love everybody. Thank
You so much. This is awesome.
Yay. Yay. I'm going to look at these chats because I didn't get to see them.
I know, it's like trying to catch up on the chat, so I'm sorry if I didn't get
No,
to
we
anybody.
won't hang up. We won't hang up. Catch up on the chat.
Don't hang up on us.
Okay, all right.
Won't hang up.
Okay.
Everybody's so cute. Aw. Hi, Moira. If you're still there. Corey O'Hara, I'm so glad you found us, if you're still there, through Brian Lehrer. Yay.
Yay.
That's awesome. Got one person from Brian Lehrer.
Yay.
I love you folks. Thank you. I'll catch you next time.
Thank you, V.
Thank
Love
you
you, mean
very
it.
much.
You're the best. Miss your hugs.
Right.
Soon, soon, very soon.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
What a story. Wow, yeah. So many great. Oh, everybody's so affirming and sweet. Got a lot of love on here, Carla.
Yay.
Old Spice, everybody.
Yeah.
Witches, gender queers alike. People love
Right,
the
Old Spice, come through.
Old Spice would be wise to like get a
They need to do a
group.
commercial with us. I'm just saying.
They really do. They really
Say it,
do.
say it.
You're not wrong.
We
on
have a
that.
whole secret market that you are missing.
When we have an event,
Secret.
when we have an event again with Carla, we'll have samples. Everybody gets an
Little
Old Spice sample at
Old
the
Spice
door.
care package.
Substantia.
There
Thanks
you
for coming
go.
back, and thank you for promoting. You've been so good about assisting, giving an assist. It's very nice. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm
Big
really
fan.
appreciate it. Yay! You're gonna have to come do the show sometime, maybe. No? Yes.
I'd love to. Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
please.
Excellent.
Well, I'll probably hit you up maybe for August or September if you're
You know
up for
the
it.
themes yet?
I don't know yet, but they come to me in a fever dream. So
That's the best
Fever
kind.
dream.
Get that peyote.
it's like,
I mean,
I like to keep it simple but complicated. So you know.
okay. That's the best way.
All right, I'm gonna peace out and
Yes.
we'll be in touch, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
All
you.
right.
Bye.
All right.
Bye,
Air
bye.
hugs to you, Drae.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.